Okay, so I want to make a video on some rustic decor. I kind of like that kind of stuff, things that you can see that you can easily make yourself to decorate your hut, your home, your mansion, your house, whatever. A lot of it can be quite useful. I have here some finger woven jute cordage that is actually a net that is holding a coil woven basket that I made. And this coil woven, it was out of sedges grass. And this can be hung up to hold different items as a decoration. I think you could probably even make lamps, but don't quote me on that because this stuff is quite flammable. But it certainly could have been a flower pot or just something to keep up off the ground if moisture is a problem or predators were a problem, if you were holding grains or something like that. So this is one example. Another example that I have is, the same sort of thing, but it's a store-bought piece of pottery. Again, it could put a small plant in here or something and hang it up by the window. Again, it's a form of a bag of some sort, just a way to carry. I'm doing a 4-strand round plate at the beginning to hold everything together, to keep this going. So this works pretty good. I think what I'm gonna focus on for this project though is making one out of coconut shell, half of a coconut shell. It's shallow enough to hold a small plant, hold different items and stuff, and it's fairly simple to make. So I'm gonna focus on making this. Okay, to begin our hanger project, I've got 4 strands, approximately 12 feet long, that I've doubled over to be approximately 6 feet long. And what I want is a single couple strands of 4 each. So that's really what I want. And so to begin, we're gonna start off with a round 4-strand plate. That's the reason why we wanted the 4 doubled up, to make the cord thicker. I have finger woven these. That gives a different feel to it and look to it. That becomes a flat. For this project, I want something round, but you could finger weave the start if you would like. So, anyways, I'm going to basically make a overhand knot. This is going to provide a loop for hanging this hanger. So I want to make sure I make a good overhand knot, evenly spaced with all our loops, like so. And I don't need a whole lot of space. I'll just pull that up. And so there we have our loop. This will be for hanging when we're done. Keep it nice and simple. So I just did a video earlier on the 4-strand braiding, round braid, 4-strand round braid. So I'm separating the 4 strands that I will need to do the braid. And I got the video out there with larger cordage. It may be difficult for you to see, and I'm using larger cordage, and I'm using cordage that is colored differently, so it's easier to see. So since this is already knotted together, what I'm going to try to do is I have these 4 strands like this. I want this top one, I want this top couple of strands to go between here and fold all the way over, which will create a separation here. Then I'll do the opposite and take this top strand and pull it between this next 2 couple. So it's this sort of like, I can do it really quickly. You go ahead and reference the video below on how to do this particular braid. I want to pull that on this side, which creates a separation on this side. That tells me that I need to, or rather it creates a separation on this side, which tells me now the turn is for me to go back to the other side, to that pair. And now that I have this pair separated, I want to take this pair and go between the opposite pair. Okay, but please, if this is hard to see or understand, please check out the video on doing the 4-strand round plait or braid, and then you can reference back this video to see how it's done, how to finish it up. Alright, so I've got about an 8-inch 4-strand round plait, braided plait, and I think I'm good with that. I could make it longer, or I could have made it shorter, or I didn't need to do it at all for this type of project. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to close it off so it doesn't come unraveled for me by making a true square knot in the center. And again, I covered this in detail in the 4-strand round braid or plait video that I referenced earlier. So it may be a little difficult to see what I'm doing here, but I'm just closing it off so that it looks decorative being closed off. I could just knot it and that would be very simple. Nothing wrong with keeping it simple, but for this project I'm going to go ahead and go the extra mile. So I'm going the extra mile here to close this off decoratively. I go in depth with this on the video, on my video on the 4-strand round plait on how to close this off. It's a little difficult to see here, so that's why I made that video, so it's a little easier for people to see how it's supposed to be done. And I'm only one person operating camera, so I can't really get a good zoom in without shaking up the composition of the viewfinder. So now what I'm going to do is kind of pull these tight now that they're interlocked, and and it creates a nice little kind of a square pattern. So like I said, it's a little difficult to see with cordage being the same color. And this cordage, this jute twine, is very hairy, so it's also difficult to see as well. But this is what we end up with, kind of a nice way to finish the end like that. And now we're ready to start to make our little net. And nothing is going to be too difficult about this. You just have to be accurate. I'm rolling this on the board here, so make sure that the braid is nice and round. Okay, so I've got some beads and stuff here. I keep embellishments around. I don't know. You know, this is sort of like a rustic project. It doesn't really have it's not directly around survival in that, but again, this is just a way to use cordage to hold things, again, to keep them off the ground. You know, just another way to make a basket or a net or a bag. So I don't really embellish too much, but in this particular case, I'm gonna kind of put some beads on these, just because I can. So I'm just gonna put these beads here, and these are not organic beads; these are plastic beads gotten from the craft store. Nothing extravagant, but they should add something, an element of refinement to it, I guess. So I'm just gonna add another bead on the opposite one, making sure the ends are even. And again, this could be bone, it could be anything. I mean, beads are beads, it could be wood beads, it doesn't matter. Let's see if I have enough here. Let's see here, yeah, those are the only sizes I have. I'll look into it more, the larger sizes. Alright, so I just attached some embellishments to it and some beads. Nothing real pretty, I didn't plan this out, it's kind of impromptu. So I want to go down probably about a hand width or so. It could be longer depending on how big I want it. And I want to grab a pair And all I want to do is put in just an overhand knot. There's no special knots at all needed for this. So there's just a plain old overhand knot. Yeah, that'll work. About that length. Okay. So then what I want to do is I want to go to the next pair and I want to match that up. And usually how I do that is I can pinch in that vicinity and then do my overhand knot holding that pinch. And then holding that approximate area. Before I get it too tight, I can match it up to make sure that it's about right. If it's not, I can adjust it before it gets tight. So we want the knot to be approximately the same length down. Okay. And then we go on to the next neighbor, next pair, and do the same thing. So we got that, and we got one more over here. Just be careful, we only want the 2 strands here. And there we go. So we've got these 4 knots. That's the first row of knots. Okay. So we want to make sure we have our neighbors attached accordingly. Okay, so we can separate these out. Alright, so what I want to do, I want to separate these 2 because this part is very important. Then I'm going to go down, you know, maybe another 3 or 4 inches or so. And I'm going to apply another knot, but to their neighbors, their neighbor pair. All right. So I want to attach to this pair like so. Okay, this will start the basis of our bag or our net. And again, there's no special knot for this. It's just an overhand knot. Just like so. Okay, nothing big, nothing special. Now, these 2 parent strands were neighbors. Now, I want to go to the next one. And I want to do the same thing. And I want these 2 to be attached. So it's kind of like a family and they have kids and then their 2 kids get together and we're just going to go down the line like that. So that's the concept. But again, I want to make sure that the knots are on approximately the same length down. And before it gets all the way, before I tighten the knot down, I want to make sure that the length is approximate. They're about the same way down, like so. And I could have put another bead on there and done all that as well. And so now we've got these 2 attached, these 3 attached. Now I want to pull down the next one. And so now these 2 are going to be attached. And these are going to get hitched. Right? So these 2 are going to be here. I'm going to pinch approximately where they are supposed to be the same length. Yep, and that looks about right. like so. Okay. Now we have attached it 1, 2, 3, 4, and now these two have to attach. So to keep this simple, I'm going to flip everything over, and so now everything is attached. So we basically made a cylinder of netting. And I'm going to lay these out. So we got these two, and I want this again to be about the same length, same distance I should say, all the way down, and I can start adjusting as it gets tighter to make sure that they're approximately the same. Okay? So now we have this attached, and it's kind of hard to see, it's confusing, but we have openings. We have an opening here. Alright, so we're going to continue to do the same thing. And I just want to check everything, check the lengths and stuff like that, and make some adjustments as needed, because it's important that they be the same, and some things have not turned out. So I'm going to make some adjustments, and then we'll continue on. Okay, so now we're going to continue on with the same process, but now I'm going to go the next row of knots down. So we got the first parent knot up here, second sibling knot, now a third knot, and I can just continue on doing this all the way down for however deep or thick you want it. I'm really gonna stop after this row because the project, my intent for this is to be a little bit more shallow than deep. So I'm just a little bit further down, maybe about 3 inches or so, and I'm just gonna again continue with the grinding knot thing. And the trick is I want to always make sure that I'm knotting to a neighboring strand. So I don't want to knot across the strands. Otherwise I will make it closed off, and then I can't put a pot in the center. Okay. So these would be the next friends. Okay, so it looks like we got it. So we've got three rows, 1, 2, and 3 rows. Now I could go further. I could have started the row knots up higher. It's just up to you. You have to play with it, experiment how you want to choose to do it or make these. People that are into macrame know exactly. This is basic. This is rudimentary stuff, which is why I like it. It's simple, but it's still kind of elegant. It's kind of cool to have around to be able to do, but it doesn't require hours and hours of time to make it. Towards the end, and probably just an inch down from our last row of knots, just the overhand knot. And yeah, and the cool thing about overhand knots is they're easy to undo in this type of cordage. So just to test this, I want to find the center. I'm going to take my coconut dish here, coconut shell dish, and find the bottom where the knot is, like so. Make sure everything drapes nicely around it, and then it looks like there we got it. So this is how you'd make the hanger, and it's embellished with some beads. Nothing real elegant or intricate. I could have made more knots on this row. I could have made a variety of knots on here. Just different levels, and it could have been real intricate. The more knots you add, the more netting that you create. The more the more intricate it becomes. So I kind of like doing it this way. It's nice and simple, and it can hold a nice little plant or something like that.